see the fucking title, man. When cocky fighters get on again and again. Shout out Trent Lukes for the vid. Let's get right into it, man. Hit that like and subscribe. Let's go up. I ain't asking for nothing else. Just hit that like and subscribe. Check out the Twitch if you want to catch it live. Yeah, that shit rhymes. We're gonna go ahead and go right with the vid. You stupid look.
To trash talk their opponents, but when it's time to fight, they're a big disappointment. And that is why it is so satisfying when they get knocked down a peg or two within the ring. In this video, we're gonna take a look at 10 moments when cocky fighters get owned and destroyed. So, let's start. Number 10, Raulio Rodriguez versus Ryan Garcia. Even at the weigh-in where Braulio Rodriguez subbed his opponent, it was clear that he thought he was far better than his opponent Garcia. After Garcia fired up a few punches, Rodriguez's cockiness overdrive as he believed he had an easy victory on his hands. After the two burst away from the lock, Garcia managed to land a vicious hook that dropped Rodriguez on his backside. After a minute or so, Rodriguez continued fighting and began showing off by trying to dodge punches. He later danced in the octagon and even stuck out his tongue tauntingly. Of course, it was all front, and Garcia managed to knock his cocky opponent almost clean out of the ring. Number 9, Badr Hari versus Peter Graham.
Ryan.
Cocky kickbox fighter Badr Hari showed nothing but disrespect to Peter Graham running up to the fight. At the press conference, he even refused to shake hands and went on to insult Graham by calling him an amateur. Later that day after the press conference, Hari could have resisted trying to intimidate Graham, also planning a kiss on the Australian opponent, which resulted in a slam to the ground.
Wow.
In the ring, the cocky Badr Hari got another taste of sweet karma when Graham made quick work of him with a spinning wheel kick to the face, sending him out of the arena in an ambulance. After this, I'm sure he would not dare to disrespect or intimidate his opponents. Number 8, Deontay Wilder versus. Sure he would not in an spinning wheel kick to the face, sending him out of the arena in an ambulance. After this, I'm sure he would not dare to disrespect or intimidate his opponents. Number 8,
Wilder.
Deontay Wilder versus Bermane Stiverne. Bermane Stiverne had a lot to say during his press conference before his fight with Deontay Wilder. Promising to break his ribs and jaw before the fight was over, he warned his opponent to send him home packing and force him to retire. Of course, with such tough words, it wasn't Stiverne's best interest to at least beat the man he was talking so much trash about. On fight night, however, Wilder got his revenge by controlling the match with his calm attitude, before firing a jab that knocked Stiverne onto his back in the first round. Stiverne still tried to keep the fight going, but after shakily stepping up to Wilder, he was again smacked back into the corner. One final time, he tries to fight, but at this point, he just becomes Wilder's punching bag before being knocked out. Number 7, Jason R. Solomon versus Test Chowby. There's nothing more embarrassing than clowning your opponent and then getting your behind handed back to you in a devastating and humiliating fashion. When Jason Solomon entered the ring to fight Chowby, he came in with a bad attitude. He walked to the cage to jumpy music and an entourage of tough-looking guys. Solomon danced his way to the cage with complete confidence, pointing to people in the crowd, strutting his stuff, and giving each of his guys a hug before entering the cage. Once inside, He pranced around like a fool, obviously enjoying the crowd's favor, but little did he know what was about to happen. The TV broadcasters tipped it off and mentioned his opponent Chabi as a big puncher. The key for Solomon was to stay away from Chabi's knockout power, but he either didn't do his homework or he just didn't believe he could get knocked out. As the sound of the first bell rang, Chabi and Solomon met at the center of the cage. As Solomon lunged in to throw a combination, Chabi clipped it with a solid overhand, which dumped Solomon to the canvas. A series of hammer fists sealed the deal, and that's all that was needed to complete one of the most hilarious finishes to a fight in recent memory. Number 6, Bobby Green versus Dustin Poirier. If you're gonna hold your hands and arms wide open for your opponent to strike you, don't be upset when they actually strike you again and again and again. Here you see Mr. Cocky Bobby Green acting as though nothing can even touch him, when in fact, everything touched him. A vicious right jab, the kicks, and then it was all thanks to his open and welcoming arms that Dustin Poirier decided to knock not once but twice right there in his face. Bobby Green goes down to the ground multiple times, but eventually ends up being pummeled until the referee jumps in to call the fight done and dusted. After this much beating, I'm sure this guy will stop sending out invites to professional fighters. Number 5, Frank Sanchez versus Julian Fernandez. Here's another cocky fighter exposing all his body to the opponent and getting what he deserved. Backed against the ropes, Fernandez just continued taunting his opponent, Frank Sanchez, as though he is the one dishing out the blows. I know it's one thing to taunt, but when you're dominating a fight, it's a whole other story when your opponent is beating the hell out of you. And that's exactly what this cocky fighter asked for. When we say that the fighter in red, Sanchez, delivered this package like it was one-day shipping and free returns, we mean it. The skillful Sanchez mostly battered Fernandez before he knocked his opponent out of the ring just after the midway mark of the 7th round with a brutal right hand. Fernandez fell between the 2nd and 3rd ropes onto the ring apron. The referee started to count, but he quickly realized Fernandez was in no condition to continue. He was dazed and confused, and I'm pretty sure he was rethinking his life right now.
He's probably unconscious as shit.
Number 4, Javier Rodriguez versus Quincy Westby. This is Westby, another arrogant fighter who believes he has the upper hand over his opponent Rodriguez. However, that wasn't the case. During the 5th round, he finds himself at the end of a vicious left hook that completely dismantled him and sends him straight to the ground. He was so perplexed that even his legs got crossed and mixed up as to where to go. His stunt body lay there probably wondering where did that come from. It's hard to tell here, but if you look real closely, you can see the soul leave his body just so gracefully on his descent.
Bro, violated.
Number 3, Charles Latuparissa versus Sultan Al Nuaimi.
What the?
Charles Latuparissa certainly knew how to make an entrance when he pulled out some MC Hammer moves to impress the Dubai crowd at Caesar's Palace prior to his fight with Sultan Al Nuaimi. Sadly for Charles, it was his loss that made for the real hammer time, as he was smashed down under the canvas and through the ropes by Sultan. He was floored twice and knocked out within the 1st round. The dancing fighter tried to beat the count, but he couldn't get to his feet on time. Number 2, Nate Campbell
Who?
versus Robbie Pettit.
I'm finna watch that Conor Ben fight, man. I got Conor Ben.
I can dodge any punch
One of my
strategy
favorite
versus
boxers out
Chris
right now.
Weidman
So
was bad.
there's a lot of
This
boxing clips.
is much worse. Campbell was all over Robbie Pettit during the fight and thoroughly taken over in the 5th round after hurting his opponent with a body shot. After such a brutal attack, Payton was in survival mode, and everyone thought Campbell had this fight in the bag. However, it wasn't the case. Campbell opted to showboat, hands down, with no expectation that Robbie would have anything left in the tank. He was wrong, and Payton uncorked a perfect left hook that sent the cocky Campbell crashing to the
Why are
canvas.
you just staring at
Fight
him mid-fight?
over.
You tweaking.
Campbell went from a win to a loss in the most amazingly absurd fashion.
Geek monster.
Number 1, Adonis Stevenson versus
Who?
Thomas Williams. Cocky fighters do many annoying things, and one of them is dancing in the ring. In this fight, Thomas Williams was able to deliver some punches to Stevenson just before the bell. He got cocky and started dancing in the ring. He should have saved that energy because he was soon going to need it to stand from the floor when he gets knocked out. In the 4th round, Stevenson had dominated the fight and started delivering several punches and a final left hook that sent Williams to the floor. He made a failed attempt to stand, but he couldn't beat the tie. This was all for today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. when
Sick video,
cocky
man.
fighters
Shout out
get
Trent
owned
Lutz,
by
man.
the
Good ass
legit
video,
ones.
man. I know y'all
For
like
more
these videos.
interesting
I'm gonna
fight
keep bringing them,
videos,
man.
make
So
sure
like
to
and
subscribe to
you
our
heard,
channel
man.
and press the
We out.
notification button. Goodbye.